Welcome to the Her Story Circle podcast, the podcast that brings you the extraordinary tales of everyday women who are changing the world. I'm your host, Gertrude Mache, and I'd like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet today. I also like to pay my respects to elders, past, present, and emerging. Every week, we dive into the lives, challenges, and triumphs of women from all four corners of the globe. We're here to inspire, enlighten, and connect, sharing stories that uplift and empower. So grab a cup of coffee, settle in, and join us as we explore the incredible journeys of women shaping our future. This is Her Story, where every woman's voice matters. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Her Story Circle. This is Gertrude Mache here in beautiful Melbourne, Australia. And today I am graced with the presence of yet another fascinating young woman. Welcome, welcome, welcome to our tribe. Please tell everybody your full name, where you're based, and share your story with us today.
Thank you, Gertrude. My name is Arina, and I'm also based in Melbourne, Australia. I'd also like to acknowledge the people of this country, the Bunurong and Boonwurrung people. So my story is about discovering the connection between food and emotions. And I'll also touch on a bit about intuitive eating. So I'd like to first share a little bit about my background and where I came from. So I grew up in Osaka, Japan. I was born and raised there. I was there till I was 18. My mom is Japanese and my dad is South African. And it was really interesting growing up in that culture. It's such an ancient culture, and I feel like I get my strength from that Japanese samurai warrior energy. Also, from my father, he grew up during the apartheid, and then he moved himself to Japan in his early 20s, and he's a very strong, resilient man, and I definitely draw like that sense of like discipline and challenge, and just like the feeling of like needing to push myself and finding my limits. Like that's where I get that from. But also I get my sensitivity and sort of the understanding like the subtle energies and being empathic, and that's really from my mother line, and because you can see it in the culture, the Japanese culture of how the beauty and their craft, their art, it's just the attention to detail. And you really, I think as a society, like to coexist in such a small country and there's like so many people, you actually have to be empathic, have to think about the other person. And so the real, like there's the sense of the status quo in Japan, especially for women, I think is to really take care, be careful. It's about being careful of how you speak, being sensitive, just it, yeah, like to always feel into how the other person and looking at how you're expressing yourself. And it's all to keep the peace so we can coexist in harmony. So I've always felt, especially as a woman, like if you want to be seen as a feminine woman, it was important to be like really cute and sweet and it, not as assertive. You don't want to come across too much. So I really felt like I did play a little bit like small. I felt like I didn't want to come across too strong. So like growing up, I always tried to fit in to society, and then just being like really nice and sweet all the time. And it's a very like passive way of living, I feel like. And but then I moved to Australia when I was like 18, 19, on the cusp of 18, turning 19, and I went to Sunshine Coast University and I studied nutrition. And when I came here, I felt like I actually had to be more assertive. So yeah, it's just the difference was like it. Yeah, I could really feel the difference, the energy on how I was coming across as, and also, so the reason why decided to study nutrition was because my mom is like an acupuncturist, and she knew everything about like the body, and she was interested in health, but especially like looking at it holistically. And so she was always cooking like really healthy meals, and she would also teach me about like going with like our cycles. And yeah, it was I just learned a lot. Had a basic, like a really good foundational sort of understanding of health, and also looking at watching my grandma. She actually studied to be a professional chef, and she wanted to open up like a cafe, which she couldn't really do, but uh, nonetheless, like she was cooking all the time, traditional, like amazing food. And I think just watching that, it just made sense that I would want to go and study nutrition because it was just so much part of my life. So I did that. Um, and then it was interesting, like when I was at uni, I was studying, I was like in my in third year. And I noticed, like, I started to notice my relationship with food, and I noticed that I was using it as a coping mechanism. And in that during that time, I was like, well, of course, like I'm stressed. I've got assignments, I've got exams. I'm like, I'm just gonna use food to just comfort myself. And I didn't feel too guilty because I was like, fair enough. Like I'm a bit stressed. So it's like, of course I want to have a little sugar hit and like, feel good and whatnot. And I was like, I'll let myself do that. It's fine. But then, soon after I finished uni, I got married, had kids, and now I'm 30. But like in the early stages of, just getting married and having a kid, I was like, well, I'm not as stressed. It's like, yes, it's busy, but it's not the kind of stress I had with like uni and assignments. And yet still I noticed I was using food to cope, and I was so confused because it just got worse. Like I felt like I was out at times. I felt I was really out of control with how I was eating, and it really frustrated me because I just didn't understand like what was the stress even coming from. Um, and then like over time, I was just noticing myself doing it more and more. But then luckily, I was as soon as I came to Melbourne, I got to know a group of girls, and it was a real like sisterhood. And yeah, of course, we still have that now. We're such a like tight group of girls, and every month we would catch up and we would talk, and it was such a safe space. And I had so much trust, and um, like we could just talk honestly about how we feel, and through that, that was the key, is that through that I was really able to start to express like how I actually felt. And I started to tap into like all the emotions and all the stuck emotions and as life goes on, you kind of realize, oh, I'm being triggered by this and that. When you actually feel into and think about it and start talking about it, you realize, oh, that's coming back from like the stuff that I felt in my childhood. And then I finally realized that like it was the fact that I actually wasn't expressing, like actually talking and speaking my truth, like day to day. And I think like that was what I was avoiding. So that was the coping. So because I wasn't actually saying what I need to say, um, I was going to food, and I was just avoiding and comforting myself. And it was just like I was just suppressing because I was suppressing, like, and most of the time it was quite unconscious. I didn't even know what I was suppressing, but I'd just be like, oh, I feel like this, like whatever, I'm busy, like I'll go about my day. And then at the end of the day, I'm just like, oh, I've got all this stuff, but I don't really want to address it. And then I'm just distracting myself and being like, oh, I want to have food and like sugar. And then I'll just like eat. And I'm like, oh, I'm fine. But then like it just intensifies because I'm not actually addressing how I feel. And so that's my story is.
It's interesting to listen to you speak because this is an issue that a lot of women have and aren't even aware of that connection between your emotions and food and how you're using food sometimes to comfort you or to cushion you or whatever that can be. So you've now come out on the other side with this amazing understanding. Let's first of all talk about how you feel about the different aspects of your ancestry. Your lineage is incredibly rich with ancestors who are samurais, scholars, geishas. How do you feel these ancestral roles have influenced your path and the values you live by today?
Yes. So I definitely touched on the aspect of like that strength, the discipline, the wanting to like challenge myself and having structure in life and living like a life of like routine and all that is definitely coming from the discipline is from, oh yeah, very, very much the Japanese like way of living structurally. And then, and also like my grandma, my grandma's mother, so my great grandma was actually a geisha. So I definitely draw that artistic sense, that sensitivity, yeah, the creativity from her. Yes.
Wow, that's just amazing. You're a cocktail of so many nations. So, moving from Japan to Australia represents a significant cultural and personal shift. What motivated you to take such a bold step away from the traditional path expected of women in Japan? And how did you navigate the challenges that came with making this decision?
Being in Japan, I just felt like I was in a box, and I actually felt like I was very frustrated with myself when I was young because I knew I wasn't being who I was, and there was I could tell that I was putting a front on, and it's so obvious to me. Maybe it wasn't for other people, but I felt very like scared and timid inside, but I just put this front on. And in order to break out of that that like split in me, I felt like I had to broaden my horizon. I had to go and explore and challenge myself and push my limits and push through the fears and anything that came up, because I knew that if I did that, then I could really work on bits in myself and just become like free and be able to express myself. So it was exciting for me. I was like, I'm definitely making the move from Japan overseas. There was no doubt, no question about that. And I just kept putting myself out there. Like anything, if I had a resistance to something, I'd be like, I'm going to put myself there and just like feel uncomfortable, but I knew I was going to get through it. So that was like really fun for me.
That is awesome. Very, very big and bold moves. So, nutrition and the deep understanding of food's impact on one's well being is a central part of your life. Can you share that pivotal moment or realization that led you to pursue this passion and how it changed your perspective on health and wellness?
Mm. Uh, yeah, I think it was in high school. I was just thinking, oh, what am I going to study? What's my future going to be like? And it I didn't have a particular desire to be a doctor, a lawyer, or anything. And I was just thinking, oh, like, I just want to be like my mom and my grandma. Like, they're just so amazing, like, strong, like, women. And I was like, well, it just makes sense that I learn nutrition because then I can take care of my family in the future. And I wasn't expecting to have children so young, but I did, and it really paid off. I yeah, I definitely look at health from a holistic perspective where it's not just food, it's also the mindset, what's going on within, how are we dealing with our emotions, that's a very crucial part in being in living a healthy life.
It's so true. So, training alongside professional athletics is not a small feat. What have you learned from these experiences, and how do these lessons apply not only to physical health, but also to mental and emotional well being?
Mhm. Yeah, it's so my husband, he was in the military, in the special forces, the SAS, and what I learned the most from him, because he trains with like many professional athletes, and it what I got from that was to train every day. It is the discipline, like the military way of like just doing, like having a routine, waking up, like just doing things to set up your day and persisting every day to work
Mhm.
on your goals. And it's been life changing for me to be able to be in that energy, in that space, to be married to someone where like every day it's like, yeah, let's wake up, let's do a workout, let's sauna, let's ice bath. Like it's just that really changed the way I think, uh, and it gives me an advantage day to day because I can clear my head and clear my energy, and then I can bring through what I need to do during the day if I've set up that routine and do what I need to do for my health in the morning.
That must be a fantastic way to actually start a day. But just the
Hmm.
level of discipline is what's amazing, what that would take as well.
Hmm.
So, your journey in understanding the emotional connection to eating and avoidance behavior is both personal and profound. Can you share a bit about how you came to realize the link between emotions and eating habits, and what this discovery meant to your own healing process?
The pivotal point actually was actually expressing it with someone that was safe, and for me that was my sisterhood.
Yeah.
And I think for anyone that is on this similar journey, is it's just important to find that one person, or again, like it can be a pet, it can just be anyone or anything that you can express honestly and truthfully. And I would say, like, especially if it comes to emotions that are very difficult to feel or handle, uh, you'd definitely have to go to a professional, and that can be a counselor, um, or or any sort of therapist, or an energy healer, or a sound healer, or whatever. Like it's yeah, the important part is to be able to express in a safe space.
Now, you talk about doing the work and alchemizing your inner journey. For many, confronting and being truthful about their fears and emotions is very, very daunting. What advice would you give to those who are at the beginning of their journey of self discovery and healing?
Hmm. I think there are, to me, there's three main steps, and the first step is to just um, just look within and be truthful with yourself. You don't
Mm.
necessarily have to go and speak about it immediately to anyone. It's just being honest with yourself, and maybe write that down, like just write down what maybe you're in denial of, or what emotions are coming up. Journaling is probably one of the greatest ways to start realizing what's actually there before
Mm.
speaking to anyone. So self-actualizing what's happening inside.
Yes.
And then the next step would be to just sit and actually feel the emotions. And of course, if it's too much, then go to a professional. But it's important to actually feel it first.
So you actually have to go through it yourself before.
Mm.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting. Now, finding medical people with integrity is a theme in your story. What qualities do you look for in these individuals, and how have they influenced your journey and the advice you give to others?
The people I like to surround myself with is people who, again, are like aligned with themselves. They're truthful, they're honest people. They don't have a front. They're just who they are. And it's just someone with bravery and someone who's not going to go along with the status quo. Someone who can stand up and be like, no, this is what I think. And yeah, it's important to be around those people because then you become that as well.
Mm-hmm. So that authenticity is crucial, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So as a mother of three, a devoted wife, a stalwart sister to fellow women, how do you balance these significant roles while also dedicating time to your personal growth and well-being? You're juggling quite a few balls here.
Yes. Again, it is the discipline that helps. If you have a schedule every day, a routine that you can stick to, it's self-care. If we start with self-care in the morning, and that will just set the day for you. So whatever that is, it can be, for me, it's like waking up, drinking like water or a little salt water, and then going in a sauna, sweating it out, ice bath, and then working out, and then later on, yeah, I might do the same thing, and yeah, it's just consistency, doing that every day for yourself.
Yeah, consistency is a difficult thing for most of us, right?
Yeah.
So you have a talent for identifying and amplifying the hidden gifts in women around you. Can you share a memorable story where you helped someone realize their potential and what impact that had on both of you?
I remember sitting with a girlfriend and just listening to them and letting them express their truth. And it's about being just loving and compassionate and non-judgmental. That's definitely what I live by, non-judgment. I try to do that as much as I can, even for myself, because I can be quite self-critical. But
Mhm.
I think if we give our girlfriends a platform to just speak, and we're just there just to listen to them and encourage them, uh, that really helps that person as well. But then you receive so much from it because you feel that the relief, the excitement, or like whatever they have to say, like they really do appreciate you in return. And then in that way, like we can we give each other that space to talk honestly, and it's just lovely. I love my girlfriends.
Which ends up flowing both ways by the sound of it.
Yes.
That's awesome. So, rediscovering joyful vibration. Sorry, I'm going to say that again. Rediscovering joyful vibrance and fulfilling our potential on this planet is a powerful message. What are the key steps or practices that you recommend for anyone looking to embark on this path of self-discovery and true fulfillment?
Hmm. It's about aligning to the truth. So if we speak truthfully, be honest with ourselves, then we definitely start to align our lives to what we want to create, like what we want to express, what we want to bring through in our life. It becomes clear and clear because we are speaking our truth. We know what we truly want in our lives, basically. So it just starts very small, is to be emotionally aware and being like, how do I actually feel? And then expressing that. And then naturally everything in life starts to come about. and you start to walk that fine line, and being in balance. And that's how I feel.
So my last two questions are going to be a bit of a time experiment. I'm going to teleport you back into your past, to that young woman who was struggling with her self-image, struggling with her relationship with food and her emotions. In case there's a young woman who's listening to this podcast right now, what 3 nuggets of wisdom can you share? What would you have wanted somebody to have said to you when you were going through that challenge at that time?
The first thing would be is the trust. I think trust yourself that you're exactly where you are. Things happen as they should. And any challenges that you come up against, it's just have the strength, have the willpower to actually look at it and just keep a positive mindset and be excited for the challenges. And the fear will come up, but it's about moving through the fear and finding what you're coming up against, and not to stop because you've come against a wall. It's to actually push through, find the strength to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, they say that everything you want is on the other side of fear. So sometimes you just have to push past that feeling, that barrier that you're perceiving, and before you know it, you're on the other side and you're wondering, what was I so scared of, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. My last question is now going to teleport you into the future this time. If I could take you into the future to go and sit with the 80-year-old you, you're now a grandmother, maybe great-grandmother, you're sitting in your rocking chair surrounded by your children or your great-grandchildren. If I could take you to go and have a conversation with this wise woman who's led you to that point, based on how you're living your life right now, what will you say to her when you finally meet her?
I would say thank you for the life challenges, because that has brought me to the person I am now. And thank you for trusting in myself and my own strength and the wisdom and everything that's led me here.
I love that. And I do like the fact that you're thanking yourself, because, a lot of women don't realize that the wise woman is already in us, already exists. She already is there guiding you, that little voice that whispers and say, go left, go right, do this, do that. But a lot of women don't trust their intuitions. They don't trust themselves. So the fact that you're saying thank you means that you're aware she's there. And when you do finally meet her, yeah, that's a beautiful thing to be able to say thank you for guiding me. Well, Arina, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. Thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your knowledge. I think what you went through was for you to become a teacher, for you to guide a lot of young women who are having the same issues, to see that the relationship between your emotions, the way you eat, your body and food, it's all interconnected, right? When you become aware of it, that you start to play with it, work with it, and build a healthy and vibrant life. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity.
And thank you to everybody who's listened in today. The HerStory Circle is a social impact movement focused on uplifting and inspiring women through the sharing of our stories. We focus on business and entrepreneurship, health and wellness, family and relationships, creativity, social justice, and spirituality. So tune in again tomorrow when I interview yet another amazing guest. In the meantime, have a fantastic day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. And Arina, thanks again for the interview.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into the HerStory Circle podcast. I hope today's story has inspired you to believe in the power of our stories and the difference you can make in the world when you use your voice. I'm Gertrude Mache, and it's been an honor to share this space with you, where voices from all walks of life come together to weave a rich tapestry of diverse perspectives. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review our podcast to help us share these stories with more listeners. Follow us on social media by looking for the Her Story Circle podcast for more updates. And join us tomorrow for another episode filled with courage, resilience, and empowerment. Remember, your story matters, and together we're building a stronger, more inclusive world. Until next time, keep making her story.